Time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor. While Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody and welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun plopped on the floor with big bowl of sugar cereal and we'll try your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning we watched Reboot.
Reboot for our Canadian friends.
Reboot. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's made in Canada, so they do say reboot, so I'm just going to call it Reboot.
No, I think they definitely hired, actual English-speaking people to record this one. So
that was a very insensitive insult there. Actually English-speaking people.
Well, Canadians, they don't speak English. They speak Can-English, which is a word that I made up, and you can't take it. It's my word. Well, Can-English.
Chris's misgivings aside, I love Canada, and you're better than the U.S., so...
Yeah, have you been to Canada, Joseph?
I've seen it in pictures.
Yeah, it's probably better. Yeah. I mean, look at their head of government versus ours. They're way better. You guys have it way better than us.
This is socks alone. Sell it for me.
Oh, I wish I was his sock.
So who is this suggested by?
This was suggested by @realdudes_pod. Not Pog, like you thought in the last episode and you got real excited about Pogs. No, Pod. Real dudes talking about real things.
Talking about real Pogs. I hope they're talking about Pogs still.
Maybe they're talking about, maybe it's not a podcast. Maybe it's just real dudes talking about pods, that you throw in the laundry,
Or they're pod people, so they're aliens. So the real dudes part is a fake out because they're actually aliens talking about pods.
It's like them trying to fit in with Earth. They're like, we are real dudes.
We are real dudes, real humans, real human dudes.
Talking about real things.
How about those double stomachs? Isn't it great to have two of them?
That's exactly what this podcast is. It's just two aliens talking about stuff, trying to fit in, what other thing could two aliens do to try to fit in with American society? Just make a podcast real quick, and you've instantly become a mediocre American citizen, just like me and Joseph.
If you really want to be ignored as an alien, just make a podcast, and people will avoid you at all costs.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you don't want anybody to listen to anything you say, make a podcast.
That's how to do it,
Yeah, from experience, we can say that.
Yes.
So the show Reboot aired from 94 to 2001, created by Gavin Blair, Ian Pearson, Phil Mitchell, and John Grace, produced by, and there are a lot of producers here, so bear with me, produced by Mainframe Entertainment, Alliance Communications, Alliance Atlantis, Shaw Communications for Season 3, BLT Productions, Yum, Reboot Productions, Zondag Entertainment, Cluster Television, and Limelight Productions.
Okay, all right. So you said the Yum because BLT is a sandwich and not just a production company, right?
No, it was produced by Yum. No, sorry. I mean the Yum was produced by my mouth because I wanted
what is happening?
The Yum was produced by my mouth because I wanted a BLT.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
What I hate about BLTs though is when people put mayo on them. I'm like, it's a BLT. It's not a BLMT. I mean, come on.
Mayo should be, you should always ask someone before you put mayo on anything.
Mayo should be banned because it's gross. It's like the grossest food you could eat is mayo. It's disgusting.
Are you a fan of mustard?
No.
So you're just not a condiment guy. Yeah.
I like ketchup and I like hot sauce and I like, horseradish on select things.
Horseradish, yeah, I guess
is good. Yeah, on your beef, you smear that white goodness all over your beef and take a mouthful.
I like regular mustard. I do not like honey Dijon mustard. That's gross.
I just don't like mustard. I was trying to explain to my girlfriend the other day what Grey Poupon was. Do you remember those commercials back in the day?
Oh, of course, yeah.
She had never seen those because she's a lot younger than me because I'm an old man. And I was trying to explain these commercials that like it's just this table of really fancy looking British royalty people sitting around a table, and they're like, pass the Grey Poupon, and they do it a few times. And the joke is that one guy's like, can you pass the mustard? And everyone like stares at him, like stares daggers, like they're all murdering him in their minds.
I remember a commercial where I think it's a guy in a limo, or somebody pulls up to a guy in a limo and is like, excuse me, sir, do you have any Grey Poupon?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird how many times that happens to me. Like limos pulling up asking for Grey Poupon.
Are you sure you're not just being pooped on?
Yeah, maybe that's what they're asking. You know, I've always declined, just as a general rule. I don't talk to people in limos.
I mean, I don't like Grey Poupon anyway, so I'm safe just to say no.
Well, there we go. Yeah. But next time I'm in a limo, that's my goal is going to be, I'm going to pull up to someone and ask if they have any Grey Poupon.
Yes, please. Driver, could you please stop? Please stop next to this crowd.
I want to see what the other side feels like, you know?
Yeah, see if anyone even understands. Pull up to a bunch of just young people.
Yeah.
I was gonna say millennials, but technically we're millennials.
We're technically
too,
millennials,
so,
so that doesn't really apply.
The younger group.
Yeah. I just I have this really like weird thing, like idea now of like how did you end up in jail? Well, I had my limo driver pull up to this high school and I kept asking the girls for their Grey Poupon, and I got arrested.
Yeah. And it was misinterpreted as something much different.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how I go. So in case you guys are wondering when I'm not on the next episode.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
So the Grey Poupon joke backfired.
Yeah, it did. It will. So
okay, so for Reboot, it ran for 4 seasons, 48 episodes on the YTV network in Canada, ABC in the US from 94 to 96. It was syndicated from 96 to 97, and on Cartoon Network it ran from 99 to 2002. For a short synopsis, in the inner computer world of Mainframe, a Guardian program sprite and his friends defend the system from threats from viruses and the user.
You know, I was just wondering, like, how old is this user? Because I'm interested to see what's causing the viruses. You know, like Megabyte. I mean, he just seems like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what he would have come from as far as being a virus, but I'm interested to see, you know, what other kind of websites this user visits and he gets viruses from. Like, what would those viruses be like?
Yeah, I don't know back in the 90s where viruses primarily stemmed from.
AOL chat rooms, probably. I don't know.
Probably.
That's where I spent my
ASL?
youth, in the AOL chat rooms.
Yeah, talking to all those definitely sexy 18-year-old women.
I was, 12 years old talking to, I'm sure, a very gorgeous young woman named Spicy Chipmunk 42.
Of course.
Probably not a man, but...
Yeah, you asked ASL and she said 18, female, and whatever location, doesn't matter.
Jail.
Get jail. Jail.
That's where Grey Poupon gets you.
This is going way in a different direction. Okay, so for anyone still listening, who are some of the actors who played in this show?
All right, so the character of Bob had 2 voice actors for season 1 through season 2. It was Michael Benyere. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'm trying. He has been in things such as G.I. Joe, Exo Squad, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest as Haji, and then he ended up doing lots of live action film and television where he looks like he was usually typecast as a terrorist because he was, of Middle Eastern descent. So he played lots of terrorist roles and things like 24 and stuff. So poor Michael. Season 3 through season 4 was Ian James Corlett, who is known for doing things such as Ranma Half, where he played Dr. Tofu Ono. He was Coconuts in The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the really bad Sonic cartoon, and he was the red monkey. That was Coconuts.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
He also voices Goku for Dragon Ball Z, obviously the American version, Cheetor for Beast Wars, and Mega Man in Mega Man. So that is a voice I definitely recognize from lots of stuff. So he's got a cool voice. I like his voice a lot. The character of Dot was voiced by Kathleen Barr, who was in things such as Conan the Adventurer, King Arthur, and the Knights of Justice as Queen Morgana, Street Fighter, Mommy's Alive, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Beast Machines, NASCAR Racers, which is a thing that Joseph, I'm sure, really wants to watch. So please, someone suggest it. She was also in Masters of the Universe versus the Snake Men as the voice of Evelyn, and in Ed, Edd and Eddy as the voice of Kevin.
So hold on. Did you say there was a NASCAR cartoon?
Yes.
Gross.
NASCAR Racers.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot bit.
Yeah, I mean, you heard me do it a second ago. I threw up on the table.
And when I say mouth, I mean floor. So, yeah. Gross.
The voice of Enzo in season 1 was Jesse Moss. In also season 1 into season 2 was Matthew Sinclair. Season 3 was Christopher Gray, and season 4 was Danny McKinnon. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what yeah, it was like these kids probably got too old as they were using them, and then they couldn't exploit them and had to start looking into child labor law. So they just kept firing the kids so they couldn't sue, and they would get a new kid to replace them. The voice of Megabyte provided by Tony J, who's the voice of Shere Khan in Tailspin, Virgil in Mighty Max, Galactus in Fantastic Four, Dreg in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Overlord in The Savage Dragon, and Dr. Lipschitz in Rugrats. Those are all cool characters. Can't wait to do Mighty Max one of these days. Please, please, please. Actually, I think it's been suggested. I just think we haven't gotten to it yet because we have 80 other suggestions.
So many.
And I'm not exaggerating when I say 80. Finally, Fong, voiced by Michael Donovan, who's also in Ranma Half as Ryoga Hibiki. He was the voice of Conan in Conan the Adventurer. He's Billy Lee in Double Dragon, which is another cartoon I'd love to watch. Guile and Zangief in Street Fighter, Carnage in Spider-Man Unlimited, Sabretooth in X-Men Evolution, King Randor in Masters of the Universe versus the Snake Men, and Master Fung in Xiaolin Chronicles, which I think is the sequel to Xiaolin Showdown that we talked about when we did that episode. So that'll be another cool one to see too.
Oh yeah, that would be cool because I really like that one. I think we both did.
Yeah, that was a really fun one.
So for a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Reboot cereal, this television series was the first to be completely computer animated, and
looks like it.
This is, well, yeah, but this world, they kind of had to construct it due to their limitations. So you've got just a few characters who are human-like, and then the rest of them, who they made a ton of, are those little like 3-piece robot-looking dudes. I don't even know how to really describe them. They're like circles connected with rectangles and whatever. They're just a bunch of shapes. So it's like those are very basic images that they could make and replicate. Right. And the other ones like Bob and Enzo and the rest, they had to be, they took some special care. So especially during the first 2 seasons, like that's really all you get to see is just a few human-like characters. So this entire show takes place over the course of less than 1 week, which I don't know if they actually state that anywhere, but I read it in trivia, so it has to be true.
Yeah, I mean, if you read it on the internet,
I guarantee
so you can't be wrong.
Why would the IMDb's lie to me?
No, they don't lie. They don't know how.
So even though ABC canceled the series after 2 seasons, Mainframe produced a 3rd season and eventually some TV movies for Canada, which eventually aired on cable in the United States. And without ABC to insist upon stories suitable for young children, the episodes took a darker tone. So that's what we see in season 3. It definitely went a different direction than what we had seen in the first couple episodes, which were mostly just like fun and pretty laid back. And just for some information on the episodes, so when I say the TV movies, basically that's what season 4 consists of. Season 3 is a full season, and then season 4 is, I think it's 8 episodes, but it's basically 2 TV movies just kind of split apart and put into a series format.
Yeah, and I think I read that there was another one planned that never took off or something like that. Or maybe it got edited down so much that a lot of the content got removed that they had planned.
Yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that had originally been planned. Like even there was going to be a spin-off of just those little robot guys that you see throughout the world, but that got scrapped.
That didn't happen. So
But if you look in like the art book for Reboot, I think that some of the preliminary sketches for that are in there, which I don't know what they'd really be because it's just these robot dudes hanging out.
How do you make an art book or an art book for a completely computer generated like a television show. That seems like counterintuitive.
Well,
But
probably the sketches just for the ideas of it.
I guess.
Those
I
are my
would be
thoughts.
interested to see how much the sketches differ from the show, because I can't imagine somebody sketching chrome hair. Chrome hair is never a good idea. I'm just throwing that out there. All of you that are planning to follow Reboot's footsteps and make characters living in a computer, don't give them chrome hair. It's horrible. It looks ugly.
Oh.
Yeah, you should feel bad.
When the network canceled the show, the writers dubbed Megabyte's fighter ships ABCs and inserted the line, "The ABCs, they've turned on us, the treacherous dogs," in the finale. So
Ooh.
it was kind of a shot at ABC. Well, not kind of. It was definitely a shot at ABC.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Fighting words.
Yeah. Also, a reimagined live-action CG animated series and a sequel, Reboot: The Guardian Code, was announced in 2015 and is slated to premiere in 2018 on YTV. So this year, supposedly, they're going to be coming out with a spin-off series. But when looking, I tried to look at the website today to check it out to see what's going on. And it's cool because the website's actually www.reboot.com. But it's down, and looking at Wikipedia, it's been down for at least since January 1st. So nobody knows why or when it's coming back up, and there's been no news on that. So who knows what the future of Reboot holds.
On the thing now, it's got like an error 404 thing, but it's got the logo in the zero of the 404, and it's got this little doctor looking guy. It kind of hints that it's down due to Megabyte. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Lastly, in keeping with the computer theme of the show, INZO, for anyone who's curious, which I was, is an acronym of 4 common computer processor status register flags, which are enable interrupt for the E, negative for the N, 0 for the Z, and overflow for the O. I still don't know what Bob stands for, but
They just ran out of names. So
yeah, I mean, it's just the most basic name.
Like the guy that made the show is just like, oh, my name's Bob. I'll just go with that.
It'd have been funny if people started calling him Robert.
But I do have to say that your main character being named Bob, like, you can't take him seriously. It's just like, because every time Megabyte in that awesome voice he has sounds ridiculous. It sounds so stupid. It drove me crazy.
There's a character named Bob with chrome hair. Everything about him screams cool.
Only I had a snappy comeback and I lost it. So
Well,
you win
wasn't
this
snappy
round.
So do you have any memories of the show from when you were a youngin'?
Unfortunately, yeah. No, I do remember seeing it a few times. I just wasn't a big fan of it. Like, I much preferred Beast Wars and other cartoons compared to this. But I gave it the old college try, being, whatever age I was when this came out, 9 or 8, or I don't know, being a kid. But I couldn't get into it. I didn't like the characters very much, which was a big problem, and still don't really like the characters very much. So that problem kind of persisted.
I really enjoyed it as a kid. It wasn't one that I saw like the whole series of or anything, but I know when I was able to catch it, I really did have a good time watching it. And I mean, it's basically like computer lingo light, because it's all these computer terms, but it makes them fun. So I don't know. I enjoyed the idea of it, and I also liked just even though the animation is not great from today's standpoints, like back then, I still thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, the animation didn't bug me as much back then because, like I said, I was a fan of Beast Wars, and the animation style is similar. Though I did and still do like the animation Beast Wars used better. Mainly, I think because they went from more like earth tones, and like there was a scheme because there were animals and they were in a very certain environment. This one, it was all over the place, man. You had guys with chrome hair and purple skin and people with green skin and black and white checkerboard crap everywhere. And like, the one combination I really hate is Megabyte. That, like, back then for some reason it was cool to have like that really dark, like navy or cobalt blue with like a neon green highlight. And that has never looked good in anything. So that drives me nuts. I'm like, why would you choose that color scheme for a character?
Well, let's
I'm
go
mad.
ahead. I can tell. So let's go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. Their first episode, highest rated episode, and finally, random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes follow chronologically, but of course, we have to start with the very first episode. And that is The Tearing, Season 1, Episode 1. And in this one, new sprite in town guardian Bob is having more than his fair share of problems when the virus Megabyte threatens his new friends unless he completes a mysterious favor.
Sounds sexy.
Bum, bum.
I mean, bum, bum, bum. Yeah. So I can get it out of the way now. Like, the graphics look awful. Like, this animation looks bad. It looks like one of those. Does anyone, if you're old enough, do you remember when you were in high school, like your first year of high school, you go to computer lab and they had IMAX for everybody, and there was that one game where you were like in clouds or something, and you had this little like square box and it was bouncing around in the air. And it just looked awful. That's kind of what this looks like. It's like Reboot's like a step up from Virtua Fighter or something. Like, it's just, it looks bad. It looks real bad, man.
Yeah, so, that's like comparing Photoshop to Mario Paint.
Oh yeah, it totally is. But it's just like, it sucks. It sucks, and there it is. I'm just putting it out there that the graphics are awful and remain awful.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, but the same can be said about Beast Wars 2. It's just it was a product of its time, and you just have to look at it that way. You really have to look at it through that specific lens, or else you're not going to enjoy it.
Yes,
but I did enjoy it, and so in this one, so like I said, Megabyte's trying to get a favor from Bob. And Megabyte is this, like you said, he's a big blue guy with some green highlights and a kind of red like crest, and he's a virus.
He's got like a fin, like a double-edged fin on the back of his head for some reason.
He's a virus, and in this computer world, apparently there's also diners in computer worlds because Dot has a diner. Dot Matrix is her full name. And she has and that's Enzo Matrix's older sister. She has this diner, and it gets, when we see it first, like it got trashed by Megabyte's forces. And he's basically saying like, your friends are in danger unless you do this favor for me.
Wink. He says it with a wink, like, hey. No,
I don't think he winked.
What porn site was the user visiting that he ended up downloading Megabyte by mistake?
I'm pretty sure he was downloading illegal music off of Kazaa or something.
Napster
or Kazaa,
or LimeWire or Aries or whatever else can we name.
Yeah.
It just kind of like it happened that way, didn't it? Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's the Napster logo used that same blue with the neon green. Like what was the trend back then that was a cool idea because it looks terrible.
Well, then the virus obviously came from Napster.
It came from Napster. That's you're exactly right.
Megabyte came from Napster. Yeah.
Why did Bob temporarily have gold pigtails?
I guess that's just his getting ready hair. I don't know. That was a weird.
Yeah, I thought it was going to lead to some kind of joke, like he answers, a call or like a video screen with the golden pigtails, but nothing happens. Like, so what happens is like he gets woken up. It puts him on this like automated routine where he's on like a conveyor getting sprayed down with stuff, like because that's how computer pieces take baths. They get sprayed with stuff, and then it did something to his hair, but it gave him gold pigtails instead of his normal chrome hair. And you kind of just see him not even acknowledge it and step off the conveyor belt. But in the next scene, it's gone. So I'm like, well, then I don't like, there was no payoff for it. Where was the payoff there?
Anytime you have anything bad to say about it, I'm just going to blame ABC.
And that's why I don't use the alphabet. I can't trust it.
So you've also got this guy here. I mean, kind of the advisor who's, I don't know, he's the something command.com or something of the system. So he's Fong? Like a wise elder, Fong. Yeah. And what I liked about his interaction with Bob was where instead of like saying like an ancient manuscript or something, he says an old README file that says keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And I just thought that was kind of a cool little And since it is this computer world, like this is what they have to work with.
There are some interesting things. I like the theme that they use using all the computer stuff. Some I didn't really. I mean, there's some that I didn't get like understand the choices, but I'm like I'm okay with it. They use a lot of like lingo for the show, so like, and now I can't think of any of it. But yeah, especially Enzo being the kid, he's always using the cool lingo, but they're using like computer stuff. So I just hit the lever on my chair and it dropped down a little bit, and it was weird. But do you remember any of those though? Any of the phrases he used?
Well, I know Enzo's like main thing is alphanumeric. Like when he's like, it's kind of cool. Like if you think about Darkwing Duck, it's like when Gosling says keen gear. This is her like, or this is his keen gear.
He's like, that's so alphanumeric.
Alphanumeric, yeah. Like that's rad, that's cool, that's whatever lingo you want to use.
And I want to say if like like they want to get rid of something, did they say delete? I can't remember if it was delete or wipe, but it was something like that.
Yeah, but let's talk about the games a little bit and the interactions they have. So
explain the whole game thing, because I thought this was dumb and I don't understand it, but you have a better take on it, so go ahead.
Okay, so for the games, like since this is the user is playing this is the user's computer. When he plays a game, this giant glowing cube starts descending upon Mainframe, and when it comes down, the idea is for the heroes to, get under it so they can become part of the game. And then that's when they use the term reboot, and it has them become part of the game, and they become the quote unquote computer players against the user who is the actual player. And their job is to defeat him so that they can essentially save the sector of the mainframe that the cube has descended upon. And it's interesting to me because I like the idea that just in general, like the biggest enemy to a computer is a user, because we're the ones who are just going to mess everything up. And I like that it's the user's interaction with the mainframe, the world of mainframe, that can really screw it up. Like if the user wins, this section of mainframe gets destroyed and everyone or all the beings in it get nullified, and they become like nil worms or something. I don't know. They become some kind of weird like creatures or something if they're in the game and get defeated by it. So Bob's job and the other hero's job is to get in the game and beat the user. So Bob's like hard mode versus everyone else being easy mode.
So this is what like this confused me. In fact, I just came up with all kinds of questions while you're talking. So basically, it's like if I win a game, like if I play a quick game of Mario Kart, and if I win, I just murdered a city block's worth of people in this town. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
And defeated Bob, unless he just didn't even show up.
Well, most likely you did not even see Bob.
Yes. And another question. So if Bob is the guardian, so it's his job to do this thing, right? Mm-hmm. Then why does he keep taking other people with him? Like, why does he take Dot and Enzo all the time if they aren't guardians? Isn't that just his job?
Well, teamwork. It's good to have your team with you.
But they're not even like prepared. I mean, it's like he's the guardian, but it'd be like if I went to work and I'm like, you know what though? I'm going to bring some people with me. And like clock in, but I'm going to have them clock in too, even though they don't work here. And then, they'll help me do my job. Like that's what I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if you could bring someone along to help you out and they're willing, I'd totally be down. If someone wants to split my work up with me, great.
Yeah, but who gets the money? That's what I want to know. Well, they don't get my salary.
If the equivalent of money is saving a city block, then I think everyone wins.
I don't know. Depends on what's on that block.
I guess.
There's a good buffalo wing place. I'll save it, but other than that, I don't really care.
So the favor that Megabyte needs is there's this tear in the system, which is just like an erratic tear. And what happens is if a game lands on it, then it becomes a portal so that Megabyte the virus is able to spread to the entire network versus just staying within the mainframe that he's currently in. So it's essentially like, to my understanding, I guess, is it's like a virus being spread through the internet. Like it's just going to be able to infect more systems, etc. And that's his goal right now.
They have the internet then? I guess they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We'll give him that. It was just very slow back then.
Yeah, this is still 56K.
Oh, man. Yeah, I remember those. Yeesh. Take 2 minutes just to get on the internet. That was a real thing, kids. That actually happened.
And nobody could use the phone, and there weren't really cell phones then.
The phone. Yeah. If you were online, nobody could call your house. And my grandmother would get so angry.
Yeah.
That was great.
Internet. Classic internet.
So these are computer-generated people. Like, how does Dot still have a shitty haircut?
It was
even digital. It looks awful.
Oh, it was her choice. It was just her.
She made a bad choice, man.
Oh,
it's real bad. I do like Megabyte a lot. I think all of the character designs look awful, but I like his persona and his portrayal, and I like what the voice actor did. I think he was very well done. Like, he was as well done as a character in this show could be, I think.
I think a cooler villain than that. We didn't really get to see her much in the first 2 episodes we watched, but Hexadecimal is a much cooler villain than Megabyte.
Is she that lady court jester looking thing?
Kind of, but what's cool about her is as a villain, because when we see her, it's kind of like she's in a gray area, but as a villain, she's got these, like, she doesn't really, don't really see her mouth move or anything. She just has all these different white masks that she puts on to express herself. And so she'll like turn and put a different mask on her face. And then when she turns back, it'll be a different expression while she's speaking. And it just looks really cool, or at least the original one did. I don't know so much about the season 3 one because we didn't get to see like exactly what happened with that. But I remember liking her a lot from when I watched as a kid.
Well, I got to tell you, that sounds like a nightmare. So of course you enjoyed it. Yeesh, that's creepy. Okay.
She was pretty scary. Also, we should mention Hack and Slash, which are Megabyte's henchmen, or at least his primary henchmen, which are these little like red dudes and blue dudes, and they're the bumbling idiot henchmen. If they're Bebop and Rocksteady, basically.
Yeah, and they were voiced by Scott McNeil and Gary Chalk, also. So,
okay,
names that we've mentioned quite a few times in our podcast. So cool guys.
Mm-hmm. Essentially what's happening is, so Bob he goes over to Megabyte's lair and he's basically like, all right, I'll help you, whatever, after getting the advice from Fong to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. And so he's obviously lying to him, and the game comes down and it's this weird like space combat game. And that's where you see them reboot into the like space pilots or whatever. And so Megabyte, as a virus, he takes over the user's avatar, I guess. And after having that, his mission is to go straight for that portal, or go straight for the tear, which is now a portal because the game has landed on top of it. And Bob and his team's job is just to stop him. And he does.
Yeah. And then he saves he wins the game, so no one had to die just while they were minding their own business, and this game descended upon them, and they were able to keep the Megabyte guy at bay again for another day. So that's good. And they all go back to Dot Steiner.
Yeah. Also, we should mention that Bob has this like gauntlet on that is called Glitch, and it's kind of his like Swiss Army knife of whatever he needs it to do, it can do that for him. And I guess it's something that Guardians come equipped with. And and when the game ends, it's always like game over, or when it starts, I think it says incoming game or something like that.
Yes.
So they get it, like the whole city gets a warning, and it's a really cool. Yeah, I like it when those games come in. It's a really cool kind of scene and situation.
You like it, but for them, it's like 9/11's about to happen, like again, and they're just like, oh god.
Yeah, for them, it's like a natural disaster.
Yeah,
it's like a tornado descending upon your city.
Like, no, and we're like, yeah. Oh, another thing I don't understand is like when they're in the game and they say reboot, to get like, to match the game to get whatever gear on. I don't understand that, because rebooting something, it means you're restarting something, like you're returning something to an original state, not matching something. I don't know. It just confuses me. I'm confused about everything.
Yeah, I just feel like you overthink things sometimes.
It hurts. My brain hurts to be this smart.
Well, let's call it that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the next episode we watched for today's show was Wizards, Warriors, and a Word from our sponsor, Season 1, Episode 9.
Ugh.
And I chose this one because Chris has been talking incessantly about D&D lately, so I figured...
I'm starting a D&D campaign. I'm DDing for the first time.
And so because he's been talking about it so much, I figured we'd bring an episode that kind of has to do with that.
And I kind of want to say thanks because that's a cool idea and it was a nice thought. But I also want to say fuck you because I hated this episode.
Oh, man. I just can't win with you sometimes.
Mike is so annoying. Like, he's the worst character. He's going to join my list, Joseph. He's joining the list.
That's also his job, is to be annoying. Like, that's the idea, is
he's
that
job.
Annoying.
He did a real good job.
In this one, Bob, Dot, Enzo, and Mike the TV learn to work together when a group role-playing game lands on them. And so Mike the TV is essentially like an ad. He is just a constant ad that just keeps... Everything he says is some sort of advertisement.
Yeah, he speaks infomercial, like the Junkions from Transformers, or like Rekgar.
Exactly.
Like he talks like that, but somehow managed to be more annoying than they were, and I'm not sure how we pulled it off, but kudos.
Well, he was very loud and spoke a lot in this episode, so maybe that's high.
The entire episode can be summed up by Bob yelling,
"Yeah, Mike!" Every bit of it. Yeah. It has to have happened at least like 5 or 6 times at least.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of things that Bob says, I'm going off on a tangent here. Why does he always say "stay frosty"?
I guess that's his alphanumeric. That's his.
What does that have to do with like computer things?
Well, he's just saying "stay cool," except "stay frosty."
God, I hate you right now.
It slices, it dices for only $99.99.
This whole episode is basically like, it's a fantasy RPG. They all become classes of different characters. Dot is a wizard or sorceress. Enzo is I guess he's supposed to be a ranger, and they also made him an elf because his ears got pointy. Bob is upset because he wanted to be the warrior, but instead he's the thief, and Mike is the warrior and is not good at it.
Yeah, and antics ensue.
I mean, so they're going like level by level through this thing, and it's not like, like at first it's kind of hitting some of the tropes and stuff, but eventually it just starts getting weird, like when they fight like carrots wearing armor.
Oh, the battle carrots, yeah.
On level 31, yeah.
I thought those were cool, actually. I liked those.
Of course you would. There's also like in level 65, they're flying on bananas through a hallway.
Yeah, the goal of this game is for them to beat the user to this chalice. It's on floor 66. And the floors are literal levels of surviving, basically. So they're going through all these obstacles, and you get to see the first few levels like in succession, but then after level 2 or 3, it starts going like floor 31, floor 37, floor 42, 53, etc. And like you said, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. Battle carrots, which I loved. I'm gonna get battle carrots tattooed on my shoulder or something. There's an eyeball monster that's chasing them. I really like the way that one looked. It was like just a monstrous eyeball with tentacle legs just chasing after them,
screaming bloody murder at them as it chased them down the hallway. That was kind of freaky. The last challenge they face is like, the whole thing's leading them to this this goblet that they got to get, this golden goblet, and but they're in this room with I think, was it mirrors? Yeah, it was mirrors, and like these evil versions of all 4 of them stepped out, and they had to face them. Mike defeated 2 of them by annoying them so much that they ran away, screaming.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Evil Dot and Evil Bob both left because they were so annoyed.
Yeah, exactly. He scared them with commercial advertisements or the threat of playing commercials forever for the rest of their lives or something.
So they end up and they beat the user by the skin of their digital teeth, because the user's characters were arriving right as they grabbed the goblet or whatever it is, the big old golden cup, and then they win.
Yeah, Mike is the one who catches it, and then it warps back to it goes into the game over thing, and then it warps back to the regular world, and Mike's holding up what used to be the chalice, and now it's like what was it? What was he holding? I can't remember what he was holding in the real world. I think it was like a not a fire hydrant, like a fire extinguisher or something like that.
To extinguish this episode.
Well, I liked the tropes that they did play on, and just all the cool little like dungeon crawling monsters and stuff that they added in, and especially the battle carrots. Like I said, essentially the idea of the episode was to use teamwork. Don't underestimate someone, I guess, because they're not part of your regular group. I don't know.
I think the moral of the story is like, even though someone's super obnoxious, don't be a dick to them. Just like tolerate them until you can like find a safe place to get away.
I don't think that was the message.
Well, that was what I took from it.
That's your take on everything.
Yes.
The last episode we watched for today's show was In Prog, season 3, episode 16. In Prog? How do you say that?
Probably Prog, because I don't know, because it's probably in program.
Yeah, that's what it is, but I don't know how it's pronounced.
Let's just go with Prog, because Prog sounds weird.
It does. And in this one, the remaining inhabitants of Mainframe have survived Megabyte's bane, but the system is destroyed and dying.
This episode, somehow, a lot happened and pretty much nothing happened at the same time. And I'm not sure how they pulled that off, but they did.
This is the final episode of season 3, and 16 episodes in, that means a lot happened in season 3. But fortunately, we got a great recap at the end of this episode.
Yeah, that was weird, but kind of serendipitous for us. But basically, at the moment, going in, I was very confused because Mainframe is now, like, looks like Escape from New York. It's just all destroyed and dark, and everyone looks homeless. Bob looks diseased, and his hair's long, and he's got gray veins all over his skin and stuff. Dot looks like she's the general of this resistance. Enzo is this big, muscular, older guy with like facial hair, and he's missing an eye. Why, when they do like in movies or shows and stuff, when they do a future jump, someone's always missing an eye for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Future people just go for the eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's the message.
And he's dating a mermaid that has legs instead of, a fish part. And then there's this girl with purple skin and orange glowy hair with a southern accent, and she makes out with this G.I. Joe guy with goggles and a flat top.
That guy reminded me of Duke Nukem a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of looks like him, doesn't sound like him, and doesn't act like him. He did literally nothing except make out with this woman. In fact, like, she had a few lines, he barely had any. And they made out for like 10 minutes of the episode, and that's not an exaggeration. Like they start making out, and then it's like 10 minutes later in the episode, you go back and they're just finishing. Well, my favorite part is that one part where you're seeing it. She is like kind of dipping him and making out with him, and his arms kind of like flailed to the side, like he looks like he's unconscious or something. I don't know what's happening, but it was weird.
So just for a little bit of backstory, I mean, I don't know too much about it, but I know that Dot is now the command.com. So she's taken over Fong's position. Fong is still there, but Dot's the head of everyone now.
He's just had enough of it.
He just wants to go back to playing Pong. And so I looked it up, and I don't remember exactly, but the reason that Enzo is so much older, even though this is still happening over the course of just a single week, apparently, is because Bob disappeared for a little while, and he met this girl, Andrea, who is that half mermaid girl who doesn't have a fin that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So she's the human half of a mermaid, and then just human legs too. So he meets her, and she's a little kid also. And then since Enzo has to take over as the temporary guardian while Bob's gone, he's in this game that he's in the process of losing. So, and if he does lose, then obviously he'll be deleted. So what he and Andrea do is he apparently turns into some sort of game avatar icon or something. I can't remember what terminology they used for it. And that sends him up back into the web outside of the mainframe, and he gets lost in the shuffle up there. And I guess time passes differently there. So it rapidly aged he and Andrea so that they are adults. And so essentially what they're doing is searching the web for their home mainframe in this period of time. And it has aged them dramatically while they're in the process of doing that. So that's a long way to say that it's not that he got older naturally. His age got warped, but he still should be a kid. But now he's older and he's seen a lot of crap in the process. So he's like a disgruntled older guy. He's kind of like Mad Max.
And he looked so hard for his home mainframe that one of his eyes fell out, you know, and
yeah,
then they
that's
replaced it with a gold coin or something. Like
must be it.
It's like, it looks like maybe they spray painted, I don't know, like a cue ball and popped it in there. They spray painted it gold and threw it in there in his eye socket.
So he's turned into a shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy. Yeah. And Andrea is sort of his level-headed cohort now. But they also start a relationship.
Yeah, everyone's got a relationship now. Everyone. Even some of the little rectangle random people have relationships that they weirdly spend a long time showing. You know? It's...
Yeah.
This whole episode is like, there's like I don't know, like 10-minute sections of strange things. There's like 10 minutes of showing all the random unnamed people in this place. 10 minutes of showing them suffering. And then Bob kind of like sabotages a game by like having them not enter, and it starts destroying everything. And he's like, I'm trying to force the user into a restarting or something, which worked. So everything gets destroyed, and then it starts coming back all golden and pretty, and everything comes back the way it used to be, except for the characters, strangely enough. So everything's kind of rebooting itself. Get it? That's the name of okay. And there's like 10 minutes of that, of like showing all the random unnamed characters coming back and their relationships and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I appreciate the sentiment of those things, but it went on so long that I was like, when is something going to happen in this episode?
I think it's because we missed out on all the buildup to get to this point where it's essentially an end of the world scenario and everyone's making their peace. I liked that. And also that it's really just dependent upon the user to just restart the computer when, you know, because things are crapping out. And he caused a blue screen of death, Bob did, by allowing this last game to crash the system.
Yeah.
And so the user's only thought is to restart it, and that restores everything. And because Enzo is the older Enzo, because he still has a different sort of user identification now when he turned himself into whatever kind of avatar to exit the game or to transport out with the GameCube, it doesn't recognize him as part of the system anymore. So it brings back the previous Enzo before all of this happened, which is the young Enzo. So right. That's why he comes in.
So now there's two Enzos. There's old Enzo, young Enzo. For whatever reason, even though the same thing happened to his non-mermaid girlfriend, that thing doesn't happen where the younger version of her doesn't show up, which I thought was weird.
Well, yeah, because she might have taken her identification back to normal. I don't know.
I just don't know.
But what's great about this episode is like it ends maybe 60% of the way through and cuts to credits. I'm like, oh, well, that was kind of abrupt. And then it's like Mike, the TV jumps in and interrupts everything. And it takes us to a synopsis of everything that's happened in season 3 in the form of a musical
Yeah.
number, which was set to Modern Major General, which I thought was really cool.
I gotta say,
And
that was my favorite part of the entire series.
it was the best way to deliver a synopsis. And it was an astute synopsis too. I like what they did. I understood and I was like, okay, now I get it. And it's delivered in a way that's not boring or too contrived. It's just like, well, here it is. Here's the information, but in a fun way that's kind of new. So it's not just like previously on this episode or whatever.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
I thought it was strange that it happened, that happened before the like conclusion of the season, like, you know, before the events of everything being, you know, reborn. Instead, it was like, yay, everything's right. Oh yeah, by the way, here's how like we got to this point in the first place, but that happens after. I would assume that would come before, but I was okay with it. It was kind of funny though, because when Mike was saying it, he was just like, oh, in case you just dropped in and you didn't, you know, see what happened, here it is. And I'm like, oh, that's exactly what we needed. Perfect.
Yeah, that's great because that's what we did. Yeah, I thought it was perfect too. So it was a great episode to watch. It caught me up on season 3 without having to watch the entirety of season 3.
Thank God. Now I'm not going to watch it.
Not that I wouldn't, but it still saves me time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, looks like a GameCube is falling down over Mainframe, so it's about time we reboot back to our inner kid forms to take on the user and then see what they thought of this show.
This cartoon was hardly a cartoon. In fact, it made my eyes want to bleed. Also, some of the characters were kind of annoying, like Enzo and Mike, and sometimes even Bob, who has the stupidest name ever. But some of it was still kind of fun, even though I never really want to see it again. So I give this cartoon 2.5 bowls of alphanumeric bit cereal out of 5.
Right off the bat, this was such an interesting idea for a show. I mean, turning computer tech lingo into something that was actually fun and digestible for kids is no small feat. Plus, the unnamed user being the true antagonist to a perfectly functional computer, brilliant. We do suck as users, and that's why we can't have nice things. Overall, I give Reboot 5 big bowls of Mike the TV Munchies cereal out of 5, and next time you decide to selfishly boot up a game on your computer, consider all the innocent lives you'll be taking by winning. Have a heart, lose a game or two, especially if you're playing against me, a concerned user. I'm just saying.
So if you're playing a game like, let's say World of Warcraft, you know, perchance where you pretty much, you never win because the game never ends, is that a loophole in that you can keep playing games and not slaughter, you know, millions of people?
I think so. I think that's like the pricey, rich area to live in the Mainframe is under an MMO.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you want to live under the MMO section. Okay.
Exactly.
Got it. So you guys should be playing things like World of Warcraft or Skyrim or something, who need to sponsor us now because we're pushing your products. So do you have any final comments on Reboot?
Yeah, I still, like, even rewatching this, obviously I gave it a 5, so I still really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm definitely able to look past the graphics because I know it was a product of its time and it was very early in the whole CG thing. And even though I'm not a big fan of CG even to this day, I see what they were trying to do and I still enjoy the story and how they kind of tied this whole world to computer tech and lingo and whatnot. So I think it's worth a watch. Definitely go in knowing that the graphics are going to be really aged and still be an enjoyable show, even though it doesn't look the best in this day and age.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's an interesting idea, but overall, the show for me was just, it just felt real messy. And that they were making this show that at the time was like, they were using cutting edge animation, but like the problem is when you do stuff like that, then like a year later, it's not, and it's just like, yeah, you know. However, despite like the graphics and stuff and me thinking that the character design was pretty poor, it wasn't a bad show. It had some nice story elements to it, and it's always interesting to me to see a show start out one way and slowly start reaching a more serious tone. So there's things I still appreciate about it. And although I didn't like some of the characters because I did find some of them annoying, the voice acting was really well done. So like I talked about a little bit about Tony J's, what he did with Megabyte. I think he did a great job. And some of the others were good too. It just wasn't the show for me. So I think a lot of people like it. I would recommend you watching it and kind of giving it your own shot. If you didn't like it as a kid, you're probably not going to like it now, but you never know. So give it a shot. Yeah,
that's fair. So thanks for the suggestion, Real Dudes / Aliens, wink. We won't tell your secret though.
Thank you, Clarknov and Kraknor, for suggesting Reboot.
Kang and Kodos.
Yes, exactly. See, I was being original. I made up names because I'm still in this, world building for D&D thing. And you're just stealing stuff left and right.
But your original names were barbarians and or goblins. Kraknar and what was the other one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've spent too much time in that world.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
Come back, Chris, come back. Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. And next week, we'll be watching
As Told by Ginger, suggested via YouTube by Fredoman.
As Told by Ginger. Have you seen that one?
No, I just assume it's like, I'm just picturing right now some ginger, like this really pale young woman with lots of freckles and red hair just sitting in front of a camera, like resting her chin on her fist, like leaning in and just talking to you about stuff. She's just telling you things.
She's a real chick talking about real things.
Yeah, she's starting her own podcast.
A real ginger talking about real things.
Yeah, and that does sound like the name of a podcast, though, As Told by Ginger. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's a predecessor to it.
Could be.
Maybe there's a thing that we could learn from As Told by Ginger.
No.
We'll see. So once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
We'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth.
A place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.